Today, Luke and I talked about investing. And so that scares a lot of people, but it also interests a lot of you out there. So we talked about a number of different things, is how to invest just as a basic. Number one, we talked about hedge funds, and we explained hedge funds, which hedge funds is a word that a lot of you don't know, that honestly I had to go learn about. So I've learned a lot about that. We explained what hedge funds are. We talked about scholarship athletes in college and how they can invest. So we got a lot of different topics are centered around investing that I know that you're going to enjoy.
So lots of questions and comments regarding investing.
Yep.
And I'm excited today to talk about all the different ways that you invest, because you invest in a lot of different things.
We do.
Okay. And so one of the things that I would like for you to start off talking about, which this might scare people a lot of times. Okay. Scares me as a young person, not really understanding it.
The biggest thing with you and I, though, is since you've been working here, you've had a lot of these questions also.
Sure.
So like
Absolutely.
You've asked these questions, and a lot of times I'll say, "Hey, do you know what so and so is?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Nope,
I have no idea."
That's great. That's great. So I feel like since you've been with us, you've learned a pretty good bit, but also there may be something in here that people will ask, "Hey, dude, what is this?"
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of just young people. Some people might understand the stock market. That's a buzzword in investing, you know?
Yeah.
But somebody like me, I just don't understand it. And Dave Ramsey says all the time, I know we're going to talk about him in a little bit, but he says, don't invest in something you don't understand, right? Don't put your money.
Warren Buffett says the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So tell me the best ways to invest in the stock market.
So unless it's going to be your job, the best way to invest in the stock market is dollar cost averaging. Okay.
I hear you say that a lot.
So, and I learned this when I was a kid. So find a financial advisor, somebody that you at least trust a little bit. Best thing is to get a referral from somebody that someone you know, trust and love, will say, "Hey, this is my person." And what you do is you give them money every month. I don't say you give them. You have money transferred every month, and they invest it. Right. Okay? They're professionals. Here's the thing. I'm not going to go to a baseball coach and ask him how to throw a football.
Sure.
But you're not going to come to me as a former football coach and ask me how to throw a curveball.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to let people do what they do best.
Right.
The easiest way to dollar cost average is to have the money. And there's a guy named David Bach who wrote I can't remember his famous, but I want to say it's Automatic Millionaire.
Okay.
And so what he says is make things automatic, make things where they transfer. So every month on the 3rd, you get an automatic transfer. It takes money from your account into a account where the financial advisor will then distribute the money how they see fit because you trust them. If you don't want to use a financial advisor, dollar cost average in like an index fund. An index fund is where it follows the index, which the index is the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, something like that. Okay,
yeah,
it just follows those different stocks. But the key is to consistently do it. Dollar cost averaging is every month.
Yeah,
every month.
And you don't see that money.
I don't.
You don't touch it. You can't touch it because, and it's just all it's doing is compounding.
All it does is compound. So I'll buy some this month, and then I'll buy some next month, and I'll buy some the next month, and I just shut my eyes and let's just use the number 500.
Right. Yeah.
Let's use the number 200.
Right.
Take the money, put it in the account, and let it buy as many shares as you can. And then the next month, and you make more money, you can start adding to that. But that's just dollar cost averaging, is letting someone invest your money every month and let it compound and grow.
Why do you think that people are so terrified of the stock market, or just scared to put their money there and invest in the stock market?
Most people, the reason people are scared of the stock market is most people are news watchers. And the news is a polarizing thing because the news gets more eyeballs based off of negative thought, negative speak. Yep. So what Fox's job, CNN's job, whoever CNBC's job, their job is to get viewers. The more viewers, the more money they can make on advertising. So they're going to talk about peril, and they're going to talk about negativity, and they're going to talk about how the so-and-so bombing is going to affect the market, and so-and-so, the new president is going to affect the market. And so all you hear on TV is the negativity of the market.
And it instills fear in you.
And when people are scared, they do nothing.
Just want to hold tight. Just hold on to it tight.
That's right. Exactly.
So give me an example You talk about it all the time, dollar cost average. So give me an example of how dollar cost average has helped you. What's your story with it? Like, there's got to be a story there somewhere.
There is. There's a great story. So when I was 18 years old in Alabama, when you graduate from high school, girls get gifts and guys get money. You send out graduation invitations.
I loved it. Oh, I loved it.
Yes, you send out graduation. Yeah,
spend it all.
You spend it all. You give out graduation invitations, and when guys get money back, girls typically get gifts, sometimes money. So when I graduated, I got $2,000.
Ooh, it's a lot of money.
A lot of money for an 18-year-old.
A lot of money back then, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I took $1,000 and I spent it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I took another $1,000 and I gave it to a guy in the church, and he invested in mutual funds. Mutual funds is just another way to dollar cost average.
Hang on.
Yeah,
don't glance past that.
Okay.
Mutual funds.
Yeah.
What is mutual funds? Can you give us a quick little?
A mutual fund is a more conservative way to invest in the market. So you've got managed funds, and then you've got mutual funds.
Okay.
Mutual funds are and Dave Ramsey talks about managed fund or mutual funds a lot. It's just like put your money in mutual funds because it's a more conservative, quote unquote, safer way. They still go up and down. The volatility that they go up and down is just a little bit less. That's the dummy version.
That's great. That's great. Good.
So every month, and this is when I was 18 and I go to college, I gave $1,000 to that to buy initial shares of a mutual fund. And then every month I dollar cost averaged in college.
Wow.
$25 a month. Okay.
Where was this $25 coming from?
I went to college. I was on scholarship, and so I got a little check every month, and I could pull away $25 a month. But the guy told me, he said, look, he look at me in the eyes. He said, every month you need to buy more shares. I don't care if it's $25 or $2,500. He said, every month, have a draft. And he said, if you make more money, buy more. If you make less, buy less. He said, but look at me. Every month you need to buy something. He said, because investing is a habit.
Wow.
And it said,
so you were a scholarship athlete.
Yeah.
So you were getting, how are you getting money? Because I was a scholarship athlete as well.
Right. Okay. So in football, I got a check every month. Okay. I lived off campus and I got a check for housing. And so I had a roommate. I got $660 the first 2 years I was there. I got $660 a month. This is back in 1998. I got $660 a month, and that paid for my room and my food. Okay. Year four.
I wasn't that kind of scholarship athlete.
Well, year four, I got the number went up to 880. Now I'll say this too. If between late November and August of next year, I worked. I parked cars. Yeah. So I made a lot of money parking cars.
Valet?
I was a valet. Ooh. So I made a lot of money.
Some rich man come up in there and give you $100.
They do.
And you take that. So you would take a portion of that, what you were bringing in with valet and getting the stipend for your room. And
I invested that. So I went anywhere from $25 throughout college, anywhere from $25 to $400 a month. I had times, Luke, where I was making a lot of money. And so
that's amazing.
I know. And so I would do 25. And then I had some money in the bank. I was like, I'll do 50. All right.
Okay.
I'll do 75.
So then what does it do? So then you're dollar cost averaging.
A dollar cost averaging every month. My money's just going. And I just shut my eyes and I looked at the account once or twice a year.
I wish I would have had that.
Yeah. And so I just did that every month for years. Man. So I did that. And then I graduated, got a job, didn't make any money. And so I pulled it back down. I made less money coaching than I did playing some years.
Way.
Yeah, sure. But then, like, for example, when I graduated, I went to worked at a high school. Yeah. And I taught high school making $30,000. And then I cleaned buildings at night. Didn't have any bills. So I lived with my dad. 2 nights, 2 years I lived with my dad. All I had to do was pay the power bill and pay my car insurance. Yep. And and this is a side piece of advice for anybody out there that's listening. When you graduate from college, if you got a chance, if you don't have an immediate plan to move somewhere and move back home, right, 2 years, and invest and save every money you make from your real job. As much money as you possibly can. It is so much of a leg up on everybody else.
Absolutely.
So we did that. But I just kept buying. I just kept buying. And so this is from 18 until I was 37.
Wow.
So
what would you say really quick? Because there's a lot of people who didn't have that luxury to invest, and what they have is they have this mound of student loan debt.
Sure.
That is a ton
That's
of the
great.
population. So
Yeah.
what would you advise them that, because you probably wouldn't advise them to dollar cost average. You probably advise them to pay off the debt. What would you advise them to do?
No, that's not what I would do.
Yeah.
I would say this. I would say, just like the guy that looked at me when I was 18 years old,
Yeah.
you need to pay your debt down,
Yeah.
but you have to have a portion to invest in every month. Because, and we'll talk about this later,
Yeah.
the most valuable asset you have is time. Because the dollars compound on each other, and they keep compounding and they keep compounding. Even though they're small amounts, they keep compounding and they keep going and they keep going. So when I just kept buying and kept buying. Some months, like I said before, we got to where we moved to Cookeville. We got fired at NC State and we moved to Cookeville. I was making $25,000 a year.
Wow.
My wife was waiting tables.
Hustling.
Grinding. So we got down to where we were doing like
no kids, right?
No kids yet. We got down to where we were doing like a 25 or $50 a month again. So throughout this process, I did a lot and then I did a little. Yeah. And then throughout the process, it went up and down. But here's the thing too about the market. The average rate of return is over the last 30 years is 12%. So like, for example, if I put in $100 a month over a year, that's $1,200.
Wow.
Okay. Well, then that money keeps growing. And I made a 12% return. Then I keep adding money to it. It keeps growing. It's a compounding, and you've heard it, it's the eighth wonder of the world, because it's mind-boggling what compounding interest can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said just a second ago, just keep buying. Mm-hmm. You and Jackie just kept buying. What does that mean? Explain that a little bit.
So with the market volatility and everybody being scared, I get asked all the time, hey, what are you doing right now? Yeah. What are you doing right now? Hey, are you not scared? I get this twice a week. Are you not scared about the real estate market? I'm like, no. You have parameters that you live in.
Yeah.
But just keep buying. It's going to be scary. Just keep buying. Now,
it's always going to be like that.
It's always going to be like
something
that.
is always going to come up.
It's always going to be like that.
There's always going to be wars being talked about. There's always going to be something.
The goal, here's a goal that I heard, and Grant Cardone said this. A goal is to save 40% of your income. That's a lofty goal. 40% of your income. Okay. But let me give you an example. So say you make $50,000 a year as a teacher, $40,000 a year, but you tutor 3 days a week and you make $150, $200 a week doing that. Take that extra and sock it away and invest it. I got another example of, like, I got a buddy makes a little over $100,000. The wife makes about 40. I looked at him. I said, hey, look, take the 100 that you make. That's plenty to live on. Invest all of your wife's money. Invest all of that. All that money. Invest it all. Save it, invest it, put it away. But just keep buying the real estate market. Interest rates are 8 to 9% as we sit here today. And everybody's like, aren't you worried? I'm like, no. Have parameters that you live in from the real estate market, that you want, that your buy box, what you think you should buy, what a good deal is. A good deal is a good deal at 3%, and a good deal is a good deal at 8%. You just have to make the numbers work. And if the numbers work, buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't just not buy because people are scared. Just keep buying. Now, your rules may have to tweak a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
Because things are different. Because there's the numbers may not work at a 3% rate, just like the way they work at an 8% rate, because their interest is more than doubled.
Yeah.
But if you can make the numbers work, it's okay. Keep buying.
Yeah.
Because if you want to refinance in 3 years, and if rates go down to 5, I don't think rates will ever be at 3 again. But if
it'd be nice.
But I think that we're going to settle at the 5% number.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just don't buy stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Don't get, shiny object syndrome when you make more money. Just keep buying.
Can you give me an example of like a real estate deal where you made the numbers work, where they didn't seem like maybe too great, but then you ended up making it work and it's worked out in the long run?
So I had a deal where I bought a 10 unit apartment complex in Scottsboro. The numbers were thin, but I looked at it. Now I looked at it and I said, okay, what can I do here?
Yeah.
So the rent roll was at a certain number. Right. I think the rent roll was like $6,000 a month, and there wasn't much margin there. And I thought to myself, okay, what can I do? Well, the guy that I was buying it from was moving out, and I thought, well, I'll take his place and add his as part of the rent. So the rent went from I was taking in $6K a month
Right.
to $7K a month.
Okay.
That's where I made it work. That was my margin.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he moved out. So that was not a part of the rent roll.
Yeah.
He moved out, and now I inserted that in.
Okay.
But there's also times, Luke, where you can't put a square peg in a round hole.
That's very true.
You can't get so romanticized about a deal that you want it when the numbers don't work, because the numbers don't lie, number one, and you make money on the buy, not on the sell.
Would you say that a lot of people get into trouble by doing that?
Oh, yeah.
Because you talk about the shiny object syndrome. They get so fixated on this. They're like, oh my God, I love this house. I love the way it looks. I love the way like it smells when I walk, just whatever, fill in the blank. They get so excited about this that they will do anything to make it happen. But then when you do that, the numbers don't end up working out, and then you end up getting yourself into a bad deal.
People buy off emotion.
Yes.
Marketing rule number one, people buy off emotion.
But are you saying that's a terrible way to do it?
Terrible way to do it.
Yeah.
You have to be in business, you have to be numbers driven. They talk about passion all the time. Passion is a liar.
It's true.
Passion is a liar. Now, there are certain things that you can follow your passion on, whether it be hobbies or extra. But when it comes to business, you have to make sense of what's in front of you. If you can't make sense of what's in front of you financially from a numbers perspective, you need to walk away. So many people make emotional decisions, and it gets them in trouble.
Yeah, that's so true. Have you kept up with or watched any of their videos, the Money Guys?
No.
Oh my gosh, I gotta send these guys to
Okay.
you. They're kind of like Dave Ramsey, but not fully. Like they still talk about investing. A lot of what you talk about, they apply. And then there's this other guy named Caleb Hammer. Have you heard of him?
Mm-mm.
So it's this guy. He brings in these people who have the shiny object syndrome, who just spend money like
a drunk engine.
Like a drunk engine. And they're like, I don't have any money, but it's just because they haven't been taught those principles, you know? And one of the things that you have done an incredible job just of teaching me, but also too, I've sat at tables where you try to teach other people, is about the principles that you have put in place in your life. And it's ended up working out, you know? And these guys are like trying to help them see like, hey, stop spending. You every day you go to Burger King, and you spend $20. I've heard you talk about that. Like, don't find somewhere to spend $10. So I just would love for you to share a little bit with people who are listening. How can you help them if they do have that shiny object syndrome? How can you help them be aware of it, but then also to put some practices and principles in to preventing from going down that rabbit trail?
The boring answer is budget. That's the boring answer.
Yes. What do y'all budget on? Do y'all have a budget like on?
You're not going to believe this.
Oh, is it like a spreadsheet?
No.
What is it?
The budget is in this notebook.
Oh my gosh.
But look.
Old school.
But look.
Hey, whatever
You're
works,
not going to
man.
believe this. So like, budget is the number one thing. But like for us, we talk about Dave Ramsey, and Dave has helped millions of people. He's so good at what he does. But Dave talks the bell curve. Dave talks to the middle class and the extremely poor. Dave is not talking to the really upper class and the people that are making $150,000 a year and up, simply because that's not a large population.
Yeah. Yep.
So the marketing part of Dave speaks to the largest class so he can reach as many people as possible. And he does a wonderful job. And while I was in that stage, he helped me. So if you've heard of the envelope system.
Oh, yeah.
We do it every month.
Do you really?
We still do.
That's amazing.
We still do. So we pay cash for
We do the digital version. We're the Gen.
We
Gen,
don't.
wait, we're not Gen Zers.
So we do cash for groceries. Wow. We do cash for car stuff. Like we are a huge cash.
That
people.
is amazing.
And the reason I do that is because it helps us stay in that box.
Yeah.
Of this is the food money. This is how much money we spend for this thing. This is how much money we spend for babysitter. This is how much money. I mean, I can show you.
So you're not like a credit card guy? No credit card?
I do credit card for business.
Okay.
I do credit card for business. and I do, but I don't really do credit card for personal stuff. I really don't. I don't use a debit card either.
Yeah.
So I would say figuring out what you need to spend every month on whatever that is.
Yeah.
Now, you need to have that miscellaneous money. If you have no debt, you need to have, I'm not going to go into Dave Ramsey, but you need to have the miscellaneous money that you can go buy stuff with.
Yeah.
But like, for example, you need to set aside money every month for vacation. You like to be fancy with vacation, save it every month.
So true.
Save it every month for vacation. So budgeting is the number one thing I would say. And the number two thing is like, think twice. Think twice.
Do I really need that?
Put it in the Amazon cart.
Oh, this is good.
And then wait.
That's good.
Put in the Amazon cart. And then wait.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just because I'm like, do I really need this? I will talk myself out of buying something all the time.
But where you will talk yourself out of buying something, there's a whole gaggle of people out there that don't think twice and talk themselves into buying something. Now, let me say this. There's a handful of things we buy household wise that I'm walking through the house and I see we've got 2 scoops of laundry detergent left. And I just pick up my phone and in 12 seconds, I've already bought the laundry detergent and it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is unreal.
That's unreal. It's crazy.
But there's a lot of things that pop up in the Amazon feed that you're like, oh, I need that. Oh, no, you don't.
No, you don't.
So just think twice. Just wait.
It's so good.
And that would be the best way to do that.
That's so good. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing now in the market? You talked about dollar cost averaging, but like somebody who's invested well, made a lot of money, has done great things. What are you doing now since you're a little advanced in this area, in this arena? What are you doing now in the stock market?
So right now, 43 years old, we still dollar cost average.
Dollar cost average.
You know that we buy real estate. I do private money lending for real estate.
Yeah.
I buy apartments.
Yeah.
So I'm involved in the real estate game a lot.
Yeah.
But Mark Mellicar, wonderful agent at Morgan Stanley, I send him $2,500 a month.
Yeah.
And he puts the money in a managed account. I have a managed account with them, and they do that. I just shut my eyes. Wow. I just send it to them every month. From 18, and I'm 43, and it just keeps.
You still have that?
I do. It's just a larger number now because I make more money.
That. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't make $660 a month like I did when I was 19 years old. I make more money now.
Yeah, why would you change it?
Why would you change?
That's so good.
Because
that's a great point.
Here's the thing.
So many people try to change stuff. Try to get different, but like if it worked.
People change because they get bored.
Oh.
Okay, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
So my dad was a high school. I've told this story before. My dad was a high school football coach, and was extremely successful. He was a state Hall of Fame. And a reporter comes up to my dad and says, "Coach, you've been so successful." He says, "But your offense is incredibly boring." And my dad looks off into space. He looks back at the guy and he goes, "You know what? I'd rather be bored than be beat."
Ooh.
And so
I'd rather win than lose.
The boring part of this is I don't ever
great.
see it, but I just give them the money, and sometimes the money's down and sometimes the money's up. But I know that over time it's going to just steadily grow. And that's what we do from that. I mean, I'm still involved in real estate, and I have real estate money that we invest with, but I'm still involved in real estate. But I have a managed account or a managed fund, and we do that every month.
What is a managed fund?
So managed account.
I've heard you say that before, but I don't know what it is.
A managed fund is where, like we talked about earlier, I take the money and I give it to my financial advisor, and they invest in whatever my speed is. Whether am I super conservative? Am I older? Am I 65? Do I need to be more conservative? Am I 43 and can be a little bit more aggressive? We can invest in more tech stocks or more things that have a little bit more volatility.
Yeah.
So I give them the money every month, and they invest that money how they see fit. Now, if I called and said, "Hey, I want the money back," they would give it to me then. But I send them the money. I can get the money out anytime I want. They can sell the stock, and I can get the money. But I just give it to them every month, and they invest it how they see fit. It's like we talked about earlier. You're not going to ask me how to throw a curveball.
Yeah, right.
So that's their job, and so I give it to professionals.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you trust them with it.
I do. I trust them. They've proven me. They can't control the market, but they can also. They do a very, very good job at communicating. Hey, this is what we're doing. Like the other day, I bought Apple stock. I've got individual Apple stock. I've got individual Apple stock, individual Google stock.
Right.
And I bought both of those when they split, however many years ago.
Okay.
So he called and said, "Hey, Apple's down this much. We ought to consider buying this." I didn't do it because I didn't want to do it. I wanted to take that money, and I've got some real estate stuff going on that I'm making pretty good return right now. But he's always talking to me about, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that?
So why do you trust him so much? Do you know him well?
I do. He was introduced by a friend.
Yeah.
A great friend of mine who I do trust.
Who you do trust. Who's trusted him.
Who's trusted him. He said, hey, y'all meet this guy. You guys are both in Birmingham. It was a college football thing. I worked with this other guy when I was coaching ball. This guy played ball at Mississippi State. He's got a little bit of a kindred spirit. We both played college football, and relationships, bro.
Man. They are everything. Yeah. They open up so many doors. So talking about managed funds, hearing you talk about it, what's the difference between a managed fund and a hedge fund?
Okay. So
I've heard you got on a kick lately about this hedge fund.
I did. So hedge
Tell me why you got on the kick.
Okay, so
it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Here's why I went down the hedge fund rabbit hole. I was looking at the Forbes 400, and I looked at it, and what that is the richest people in the world, and it has 400 people listed.
Yep.
And
Thomas Cox is number 5, by the way.
And so you looked at you got the names that you know.
Yeah.
You got the Elons, you got the Bill Gates,
right,
got the big names, the guy that owns LVMH. You got the names that you know.
Right.
But as I started looking down the list, it goes Elon Musk, and it's got the number that he's worth, and it's out there. It's got the job or the thing that he did to earn that money.
Right.
But I started scrolling on that list, and there's Ray Dalio on there. Ray Dalio's written a book. He's big buddies with Tony Robbins. He's a hedge fund guy, and I've heard that word forever.
Yeah.
But listen, Luke, I start scrolling on that list, and about every 5th person, it says hedge fund. That's all it says. Wow. And I'd go down and it'd say 2 or 3 people in a row, hedge fund, hedge fund, hedge fund. And I'd scroll, hedge fund, hedge fund, hedge fund.
So interesting.
And I call Mark.
You're like, what's going on?
What am I missing?
What am I missing?
So I call Mark.
Should I open up a hedge fund?
So I call Mark. And okay, let me talk about managed fund first. A managed fund, Mark gets 1% of my portfolio. Let's
Mark is your financial
Mark
guy.
is my financial advisor.
Yes.
So say I have $1 million because it's a good round number. Say I have $1 million in my managed fund. Mark gets 1% of that yearly. So what's his motive? He has motivation to do what?
Absolutely.
To make it grow. To make more money. Because if I have $1.5 million, he makes more money. Okay.
Simple.
So pretty much all managed funds are 1%.
Yeah.
Let's talk about hedge funds. But that's all Mark gets. He gets 1% of portfolio worth. That's it.
Okay.
That's his fee.
Got you.
Let's talk about hedge funds. You ready for this?
Oh.
So hedge funds. So they get 2% of portfolio worth.
Okay.
So they've already doubled what a regular managed fund.
Yep.
Okay. The next thing is hedge fund managers get 20% of profit.
What?
Yes. So if
they make you $1 million,
they get $200K off the bat. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So if I give Mark $1 million in my managed account, and I call him 6 months later and say, "Hey, bro, I want to liquidate it. I need my money. I got to go buy something." He's like, "All right." He gives it to me. Hedge funds, you have to commit to a certain number of years. Sometimes 3, sometimes 5, sometimes 7 years. So you cannot get your money out. That's number 2. Ooh. Listen to this though. When Mark calls, I can ask Mark, "What are we investing in?" He can go down the list and tell me. Hedge funds, they do not have to tell you. A lot of times they will not tell you.
Oh my God.
They won't tell you. They keep your money.
Talk about terrifying.
But here's what happens too. In hedge funds, there's always a minimum. But here's who is also investing in hedge funds. Harvard, Yale, these big and what they call endowments. I remember you used to work at Huntington. They had an endowment.
We had an endowment.
Baylor has an endowment. Sanford University has an endowment.
Right.
So what they will do is these endowments for these big universities and these people have just tons of, they will take $1 billion, $2 billion and put in a hedge fund.
Oh my God.
Now the hedge fund stuff is aggressive. They will invest, but here's the thing. In hedge funds, they've got so much money in the portfolio that any little raise, any little uptick is a large number.
Yeah.
So if they've got $5 or $10 billion in a hedge fund and they make 1%, That's a lot of freaking money. And they get 20% of that, and that money's locked in.
Oh my God.
After understanding this, I realized why these guys are making so much money.
Heck
Number
yeah.
one, they're getting double what a regular financial planner's getting, number one. And then number two, they get 20% of anything that they make. There's a lot of motivation there. Now, the guys that are giving this money to the hedge fund guys, they're making money too.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But the hedge fund managers who are making the moves, those are the ones that are killing it.
So a hedge fund person, how many clients do they have? Because that's a lot of money. So do you just focus on one client, or do you just get all?
No, you pull that money together. So they may have a hedge fund that's got a $10 billion entry. We're going to cap it at $10 billion, $500 million. So there's a big difference in moving 10% on $1 million bucks and then 10% on $2 billion. It's a huge number. So like it's a rabbit hole worth going down. But you also, as you scroll that 400, those guys are nameless and faceless.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's this freaking guy?
Who is this guy?
Who's this guy? But there's
He's
so many of them.
There's
There's so many of them on there. And we think that college or pro athletes make a lot. Patrick Mahomes makes $50 million a year. That's a drop in a bucket to some of these hedge fund guys.
Which is insane.
Absolutely insane.
Speaking about professional athletes, this can be the last thing that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But this is a very interesting statistic that my buddy brought to me. So Cam Rice.
Yeah.
Cam Rice knows a lot of professional athletes, is working with a lot of them. Cam actually does a little financial advising on the side. And he said, Luke, did you know like 87%, it's like something like 80% of professional athletes end up going broke after they get done playing. Yeah. And a lot of it is because they don't have the principles and the habits and the discipline with the money, because they're used to having just like all this ton of money. Well, then if you didn't invest that, if you weren't smart about it, if you didn't dollar cost average, if you didn't do something with it to invest it, then it's gone. Yeah. It's gone. You go from making $50 million to having this extravagant lifestyle to now not making anything. And so he's kind of on this mission to help these athletes in a sense. And they're about to start a podcast up and do all of that. But I found it so interesting. And I think that you could speak a little bit to the scholarship athlete out there who might be listening on, hey, here's some good, because some of them might be going to play professional in the next few years. If you're scholarship, you're pretty good, and you have a possibility. So what would you tell them to start doing while they're a college athlete so that they can have those disciplines and those principles whenever they get older? So
we've got a friend that's their son plays Power 5 basketball.
Okay.
And so a lot of these with NIL, people think that NIL, these kids are just making gazillions of dollars. But they are making money because what they have is they have these things called collectives where everybody on the team gets a certain amount of money, especially in Power 5, any Power 5, big, the basketball or football. They get collective money where they get money every month. Well, if I was a scholarship athlete, my son was a scholarship athlete, what I would tell them is say, number one, you got to make sure you're paying taxes on that money, because anything over above their scholarship, they get taxed on.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
The second thing is I would tell them to invest and buy in a home / duplex / triplex. So most college athletes do not have to live in the dorm.
Yeah.
And I would tell them, take the $2,000, the $3,000, the $4,000, the $5,000 a month and let's go get you a duplex. Why get a duplex? So you can live in one side and have somebody live in the other side, have them pay the mortgage to where you can do that. And so once you save enough money, so the goal for me, our buddy that's got the son that plays Power 5 basketball, I think his collective check is like $3,000 a month. That's a lot of money.
Wow, that's great.
That on top of his scholarship.
Yeah, right.
So let's go buy a duplex.
So great.
It is great. So let's go buy a duplex and have some of your teammates live next door and let them pay you for rent, whatever. Wow. The goal should be, in my opinion, save, because if I can save $3,000 a month times 12 is $36,000. If I can save $36,000 a year, I can go buy another one. So if I can go 4 years and buy 4 duplexes, after the first duplex, the other one's paying for itself. The third one's paying for itself because I got people in, because I got my room over here.
That's right. Yeah.
These people are going to pay for the rent while I can still invest and save that money or invest that money in buying more. Man. So if I was a scholarship athlete and I was just a bare minimum of getting the money, that's what I would tell my son to do.
That is so great. Hey, Tiki's going to have the opportunity to do that too, man. He's
you know
pretty
what?
good.
I don't know what it's going to be like in 7 years when he graduates. I have no clue. It could be astronomical. It could be totally different. The rules could change 5 times between now and then. But no matter what he does. So I save, I dollar cost average for all 3 of my kids every month.
Yeah. Okay.
We do $150 a month in a managed account for all 3 kids each. So that when that time comes, what are they going to do?
That's great.
How can not so much give them a leg up, but how can we take that money and invest it so that we can teach them? So we have the money to teach them what to do right with their money.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a wealth of knowledge on how to invest, from the professional athlete to the scholarship athlete to if you're just a teacher, whatever it may be, a business owner. You've given so many ways to invest. Is there any other thing that you would want to mention or point out before we wrap this thing up?
No, I think I'm good. I think we've covered a lot here.
Yeah.
There's a lot in this that we can extrapolate. And I would say this: if people have questions, I am not a professional. Okay, I'm not. I ask people these.
Wisdom.
Just experience as much as anything. I've asked people these questions before, and I'm just regurgitating what I've number one heard from other people, and number 2 learned and seen myself. Yeah. So if you've got questions, people have got questions out there, ask, comment, get in the comment. Yep. The biggest thing for us is subscribe to wherever you're watching this, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on YouTube, whatever, Apple. Subscribe to us and then ask us questions. Put comments in there so we can help answer those questions. If I see a question that I don't know the answer to, I love that because then I'll go find out the answer and then try to experience myself.
Yeah, so you want to help people.
That's right.
It's great.